Saturday night, 2024. This is a chaotic film, humorous at times. To start with, I thought, oh gosh, I don't think I can handle this. I thought it was going to be too messy, too complicated, and I was feeling fairly tired earlier today when I saw it. I think it got the message across. I liked it enough. It stars a lot of people that I'm familiar with, but there are a few famous actors that I am aware of. For instance, J.K. Simmons and Willem Dafoe. I'm quite familiar with a lot of the people played as well, because I suppose I'm aware of the films that people like Chevy Chase did, various films from the National Lampoon series, such as Animal House and a Christmas one I saw recently. So Chevy Chase I'm quite familiar with, and I did think the actor who played him did a great job. It kind of felt very much like what I was expecting in many ways. But to start with, it's set on the actual evening that the first broadcast takes place. So it happens on the 11th of October 1975 when SNL first went out. 90 minutes before they are due to air, all hell is erupting. Wow, it's a sort of skin of your teeth job. I suppose I can't imagine it actually being quite like this on the night. I think there's a lot of dramatisation, but that's what keeps the attention going. Every so often there's someone announcing there's 90 minutes to go, there's 75 minutes to go, an hour to go. It goes down. And even when it's 10 minutes and 5 minutes and 3 minutes, the amount of stuff that happens, it might actually almost be like real time. I was checking at the start in case it was one of those continuous shot, one take films. But it didn't seem to be. There was more than one take. It wasn't continuous. But I suppose it was effectively real time for the script, and things couldn't surely have happened like that. It's like the expectation, the head of NBC is threatening to pull the show right up until a few minutes before it airs. He wants to see examples of the skits or sketches. When Lorne, the person who is in charge, there's pressure on him. There's people like saying, oh, we could run VT tapes this week and you can do the live show next week, but he thinks it's all or nothing, and probably is. And for a start, they didn't actually record any of the rehearsals. So some of the early stuff in particular, I couldn't see any humour in it. I thought, what is going on? How is this funny? And there are examples right through to quite late on where the crew and the audience are laughing away. And I was thinking, gosh, the 70s was such a bizarre time. I've noticed that in the 80s as well. Even though the 70s and 80s are decades I've lived through, they feel like an alien time. They certainly weren't sensitive to DEI. I'm going to bring that up again. DEIA, diversity, equality, inclusion and accessibility. Well, there's some back and forth with the humour. So there's backslapping and all sorts of latent everyday sexism. There's some bum slapping that goes the other way, like one of the women working there does the same to a man. So I suppose that's sort of like starting to equalise things, but you think now they'd all be fired, or maybe not, given what's happening now in the USA, of course, with DEI going out the window. There were a few surprises, things I loved, like there's this sketch where a group of women are like sitting like men and looking like they're construction workers, builders, and they sexually harass a man, a single man in shorts, and he's isolated, feels a bit put upon. Those sort of things. I've seen a lot of that in the decades since, French and Saunders, those type of sketches. But back in the 70s, this was already happening, and that's refreshing. Oh, and there's this African-American guy who sings about shooting all the whiteys. Wow. I was thinking, is that going to air? Oh gosh. Now, of course, the anti-woke people would be using that as ammunition and saying white people are being put upon. But it's just like this scattergun approach to things. A board full of all of the sketches, and you think, how is this going to fit in? Right at the start of the film, in the street outside the NBC studio, a couple of the crew are trying to lure in an audience to see the show. Comedy night here, come on in. A lot of people are just not interested. A real hiding to nothing the way things are going. I would really like to watch that first episode of Saturday Night Live and see how it pans out compared to this preparation. While all these health and safety blunders, cameras crashing to the stage floor from the ceiling, quite easily capable of killing whoever was underneath them. There's a lot happening. Lorne is being put upon by everyone. Everyone's demanding some of his time and holding it together. And at one point he's sprayed by fake blood. And he's supported by his crew. Oh, John Belushi. Oh, he is a very reluctant presence. He's not willing to sign the contract to participate. And he actually walks off the set. I guess he went on the show at some point during the years. I know he starred in Animal House, Blues Brothers, along with Dan Aykroyd. Well, there's all this stuff happening. Television history, like an origin story, to see how these actors got their breakthrough. This was their early days back in 1975. It's similar in some ways to The Footlights, the Monty Python crew, John Cleese, and the alternative comedy scene, comic strip, not the 9 o'clock news, comedians from the 70s and 80s as they developed their personas and their jokes in the UK. I think this was like the US equivalent. It was a few years earlier. I'd imagine it was the sort of much needed comedy that people felt was important as a release from all heaviness of daily life. Those were difficult times. The 70s were, the 80s were. There aren't really many decades that weren't difficult times, I would say. There have been crises after crises over the years. I think just now in the mid-20s, it feels like an extra difficult crisis. So, yeah, I enjoyed it, but was just so much thrown at it, and I'd have found it very difficult to have been there at that time. I think I'm going to score this 8.75. It is a really good, fun film to watch. It's what you expect from that era, and there's swearing, there's drug taking, a lot of chaotic stuff happening, but I enjoyed it, seeing a dramatisation of the feeling of what it was like. It's not like a documentary of how it actually was, how it must have felt on that particular night, just before a momentous occasion when a brand new comedy show goes live across the USA. People from Burbank, California, or New York, right across the country. Oh yeah, I'll have to mention also there's this highly religious woman. She's got a red pen and she says she's monitoring everything, and they pulling the wool over her eyes at times with explaining what a golden shower is. Of course, not explaining what a golden shower is. I think she okays the jokes, even though she's from this strict religious background. She was more or less like Mary Whitehouse, I would say. It shows how different things are. There's irreverence. Mary Whitehouse was like a thorn in the side of a lot of television production in the 70s and 80s, and probably before. I'm not sure when she started. She didn't like anything that wasn't prim and proper. It was just fun watching this. I'd love to know what you think if you've seen this, so please leave a comment. Please hit the like button if you like this review. Thanks for subscribing if you do. Don't forget to hit the notification button, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye for now.